What if just for a moment you stopped worrying? What if you lived as if everything, every detail, every delay, every twist in your story was actually working in your favor? Pause right there. That thought might sound absurd, maybe even delusional, because we've been trained to expect the worst, to prepare for pain, to anticipate disappointment before it even knocks. But what if I told you that isn't caution? That's a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. No, this isn't about toxic positivity or pretending life is always easy. It's not about ignoring pain. It's not about closing your eyes to reality. It's about opening them wider. This is not fantasy. It's not wishful thinking. It's an ancient kind of wisdom, one that whispers, your belief doesn't just color your life, it creates the atmosphere it breathes in. So let me ask you again, what would happen if you stopped walking into each day waiting for something to go wrong? What would change? If you stepped into this moment with the quiet certainty that even the chaos, even the unknown, is here to shape you, not break you, you might feel resistance building right now. That little voice inside saying, it can't be that simple. Or worse, not for me. And I understand. I really do. Because true belief is terrifying. It asks us to let go of control, to act before we're ready, to move even when the path isn't clear. But here's what most people never realize. You don't have to fully believe it to begin. You just have to act as if things are working out, as if you're supported, as if life is not your enemy, but your co-creator. Because when you do that, something shifts. Not just inside you, around you. People feel it. Life feels it. And suddenly what once felt unreachable begins to move closer. Maybe that sounds impossible. Or maybe it's exactly what you've been needing to hear. If you've ever felt like the world is against you, if you've ever wondered why things seem to fall apart just when they're supposed to come together, you need this. So stay with me, because what I'm about to share could change the way you experience everything. Not someday. Now. And once you understand it, you'll never walk through your day the same way again. Carl Jung once said, you do not see the world as it is. You see the world as you are. Sit with that for a moment, because behind its elegance is a radical truth that most people never stop to consider. We like to think we're objective, rational, that what we perceive is a clear window to reality. But it's not a window. It's a mirror. The way you interpret events, people, opportunities, it all passes through a lens shaped by your past, your pain, your expectations, your self-image. And here's the twist. That lens doesn't just influence what you notice, it shapes what's available to you. In a study conducted at Stanford University, participants were given the same set of puzzles. One group was told that the puzzles were a test of intelligentsia diagnostic. The other group, they were told the puzzles were just for fun. A game, same puzzles, same difficulty. But the outcomes were completely different. The group under pressure performed slower, made more mistakes, and reported feeling anxious and blocked. The playful group? They finished faster, solved more creatively, and even reported enjoying the challenge. Why? Because what they believed about the experience changed their internal statementally, emotionally, even biologically. The task didn't change. Their lens did. And through that shift in perception, their reality followed suit. So what happens when your internal lens is tuned to fear? You walk into a room expecting rejection. You approach new things assuming failure. You prepare for life to disappoint you, and you find evidence of exactly that. Your nervous system tightens. Your posture closes. Your language becomes cautious, protective, and the world, like an echo, responds in kind. But when you believe even quietly, even imperfectly, that life is working with you, not against you, something changes. Not in some mystical distant future. Now, your body loosens, your gaze softens, you notice nuance, you see openings where you used to see obstacles. Your entire way of engaging with life becomes more fluid, more magnetic. Let me give you something real. There was a woman I once spoke with who believed she was cursed. Truly. Every breakup, every missed job offer, every delay at all confirmed her story that life was against her. "Why does this always happen to me?" she would ask. But then, during one quiet conversation, I asked her a different question. What if life wasn't punishing you but preparing you? What if every no was a redirection toward a better yes you can't yet see? She didn't change overnight, but that seed of new perception was planted. She started journaling with curiosity instead of judgment. She walked into interviews imagining what she could offer, not what she might lack. And slowly, her reality shifted. Not because the world became easier, but because she stopped relating to life as a battlefield and started treating it as a teacher. 2 years later, she had a career that excited her and a partner who saw her deeply not as broken, but as whole. What changed? Her lens. When you change how you see, you change what you see. This isn't magic, it's mechanics. The world outside bends to meet the world within. And if that's true, then one of the most powerful things you can do is choose your lens with care. Because the story you believe becomes the life you live. Belief is not blind hope. It's not fantasy or denial. It is, in truth, one of the most powerful forces shaping your life quietly, constantly, and often without your awareness. Think of belief not as a thought you repeat, but as a command your subconscious listens to. Because what you believe, you start to embody. And what you embody, you begin to attract. This isn't spiritual fluff. It's human psychology. It's biology. It's how we're wired. There's a term in psychology called self-fulfilling prophecy, but I want you to see it in a new light, more active, more empowering. When you act as if something is already true, your entire system begins to align with that possibility. Your posture shifts. Your tone of voice changes. Your decisions reflect a new confidence. And when those things shift, your environment responds. There's a well-known study conducted at Harvard about something called the power pose. Participants who stood in a strong, open posture for just 2 minutes showed increased testosterone associated with confidence and decreased cortisol linked to stress. But the most remarkable part wasn't the hormone shift. It was the behavior that followed. Those who held the pose were more likely to take risks, speak up, step forward. Why? Because their body told their brain, we're safe, we're strong, we're ready. And the brain believed it. Now imagine doing that not just for 2 minutes, but as a way of life. What if the way you carried yourself, the way you showed up, the way you moved through a room, told the world a different story about who you are? What might open up? I once worked with a young man who had been rejected from 5 job interviews in a row. Each time, he walked in nervously, shoulders down, eyes hesitant. His voice, measured, careful, apologetic even. After the 5th rejection, he came to me and asked, "What's wrong with me?" And I said, "Nothing's wrong. But you're sending the world a signal of doubt." I didn't tell him to fake confidence. I told him to shift his posture, to breathe differently, to speak as though he belonged, just once. The next week, he tried again. Same resume, same experience. But this time, he walked into the room like he had something of value to offer. He was hired on the spot, not because he changed who he was, but because he changed what he believed was possible, and his presence followed suit. That's what belief does. It is not a wish whispered in the dark. It is an invisible architecture, a vibration, a pulse, and it builds the framework of your life in every step you take. So if you want your life to expand, start by believing something new, not perfectly, not loudly, but deeply enough to take one step. Because belief isn't the reward for results. Belief is the birthplace of them. You don't have to believe it to begin. You don't need confidence to take the first step. You just need to move as if you belong, as if you're ready, as if you are worthy of everything good life is trying to give you. There's a common myth that belief comes first, that we have to wait to feel brave, certain, powerful before we act. But that's not how the mind works. That's not how transformation begins. At Harvard, researchers tested something simple but revolutionary. What happens when people take on powerful postures, what they called power poses? Just 2 minutes of standing tall, chest open, chin slightly lifted, feet grounded, not faking, just holding space. The results? Testosterone levels rose, linked to confidence and presence. Cortisol levels dropped, tied to anxiety and stress. But even more powerful participants became more willing to take action, to speak up, to risk. Why? Because the body had sent a signal. We are safe. We are strong. We are allowed to be here. And the mind, always listening, believed it. Now think beyond posture. Think about your daily life. Every moment, you're sending signals through your voice, your walk, your tone when you say your name, the way you take up space or shrink from it. What if you stopped waiting for certainty and began choosing your signals? Stand up straight, even when you feel small. Speak your name out loud, clearly, like it matters, because it does. Look yourself in the mirror. Hold your own gaze. Don't flinch. And then act just for today, as if the world is conspiring in your favor, as if the room wants you there, as if life is a stage and you've already been cast for the role. This isn't pretending. This is rehearsal for your becoming. And like any rehearsal, it starts rough. You may shake. You may doubt. But the more you show up, the more your body begins to believe. The more your body believes, the more your mind relaxes. And when the body and mind align, something remarkable happens. The world begins to respond, not because you've manipulated it, but because you've stopped resisting it. This is the secret most people never discover. Action doesn't wait for belief. Action creates belief. So move like someone who knows life is on their side. Walk into the room like someone who belongs. Speak like someone whose voice has weight. Live like someone whose presence changes the temperature in the space. Because when you move as if, it won't be long before your belief follows. And once belief shows up, it won't knock. It will walk in like it was always yours. You don't need to control life. You just need to trust it's taking you where you're meant to go. That sentence alone can feel like a threat to the part of you that wants answers, plans, guarantees. But the deeper part of you, the one that's been through storms and still standing, knows it's true. There's a difference between control and participation. Control says, I must force this to happen. I must grip tightly to outcomes. I must anticipate every turn. Trust says, I'll do my part. Then I'll let life do hers. Imagine a farmer. He wakes before dawn. He tills the soil. He plants each seed with care. He waters. He tends. But then he steps back. He doesn't dig up the seed every morning to check its progress. He doesn't scream at the sky for rain. He waits. He watches. He trusts. Because he knows the process is not his alone to manage. He knows something larger is at work. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you planted something in your life and then truly let go? Not because you stopped caring, but because you started trusting. There is a quiet kind of power that lives not in striving but in surrender. Control wears you out. It tells you that your worth depends on the outcome, that you're only safe if everything goes according to plan. But deep trust, that lets your nervous system breathe. That invites flow, creativity, grace. You're not meant to carry the entire weight of the world on your shoulders. You're meant to show up with presence, offer your effort, your care, your action, and then let go of what is not yours to carry. You're not the rain, you're not the sun, you're not the soil, but you are the one who plants. And that's more than enough. Trying to control every step is like trying to row upstream against the current. You exhaust yourself and still go nowhere. But when you trust, when you participate without clutching, the river begins to carry you. Not always where you thought, but often where you needed. Let that be your posture. Show up fully but release the grip. Do your part and leave space for life to meet you. You are not weak for letting go. You are wise. Because the greatest transformations don't come from force. They come from rhythm, from timing, from flow. So plant your seeds, tend your ground, and then Let the season do what it knows how to do. When you move through life as if everything is working in your favor, you become the very sign you've been waiting for. Because energy doesn't lie, presence doesn't lie, and the world, far more than we admit, responds not just to what you say or do, but to who you are being. There's a phenomenon known in physics, but even more in life: resonance. Two systems vibrating at similar frequencies will begin to sync. This is not mysticism. This is science. And it's happening all the time between people, in spaces, in relationships, in decisions. You're not just walking into a room. You're carrying a frequency into it. You're not just starting a conversation. You're transmitting energy the moment you enter. And that energy, whether it's grounded or scattered, open or closed, alive or afraid, shapes what comes back to you. You've felt this. You've walked past someone and felt drawn to them without knowing why. Or felt tension in the air before a word was spoken. That's resonance. It's what makes a person unforgettable before they say a single thing. And that's what happens when you begin to act, not just behave, but embody as if life supports you. You shift your frequency, and suddenly, the world starts reflecting it back. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who lived much of her life believing she was invisible, not unloved, not unworthy, just unnoticed. She was kind, gentle, reliable, but she walked quietly. She spoke softly. She never wanted to be a burden. And over time, the world agreed with her silence. She wasn't seen. She wasn't chosen. She wasn't invited. One day, after yet another overlooked opportunity, she sat across from someone who asked her one question: what would happen if you walked into the room like you were supposed to be there? At first, she laughed. Then she paused. Then she tried it. She didn't change her clothes. She didn't change her voice. She changed her posture, her presence, her belief. She stopped looking for a sign and started becoming one. She walked into rooms with the quiet dignity of someone who belonged. She answered questions like her voice mattered. She looked people in the eye, not with apology, but with grounded grace. And the world changed. Not because the world suddenly noticed her, but because she finally let herself be seen. That's the power of resonance. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to earn your place. You don't need to chase what aligns with you. You are not the echo. You are the sound. You are not the one waiting to be called. You are the one who shows up. You are not the one searching for a signal. You are the signal. People can feel when someone knows who they are. There's a calmness to it, a steadiness, an authority that doesn't shout but can't be ignored. And you don't need perfection to radiate that energy. You just need presence. The belief that who you are is enough. The trust that the energy you bring shifts the entire room. When you carry yourself like someone the world wants to meet, it will. When you stop asking for permission to shine, you shine. So the next time you feel like you're waiting for a sign, stop, look in the mirror, stand still, breathe deeply, and remember this: you don't need to be chosen. You are the one who chooses. You don't need to be louder. You just need to be clearer. You don't need to wait. You've already arrived. This is how you step into the world, not asking for approval, but arriving as yourself. Not to be accepted, but to be seen. Not to fit in, but to take your place. Because you are not here to play a part written by fear, by history, or by someone else's comfort. You're here to write a new script. And that begins when you choose to tell a different story about who you are. A story not built on survival, but on presence. A story not shaped by what went wrong, but by what you're willing to create next. You've just walked through 5 truths, 5 shifts, 5 invitations. The first was your lens. That the world does not exist as it is, it exists as you are. The second was your belief. That what you believe becomes a quiet command shaping everything around you. The third was your action. That when you move as if the mind follows sand, so does the world. The fourth was your surrender. That letting go is not weakness, it's a sacred form of strength. And the fifth was your presence. That the energy you carry is the invitation and the world responds accordingly. These are not just ideas. These are steps. And now, it's your turn to walk. To get up, yes, right now and stand taller, not because life got easier, but because you decided to meet it differently. To speak your name out loud and mean it. To walk into the next room, not hoping to be accepted, but carrying the quiet authority of someone who already belongs. Imagine yourself moving through life not like a question mark, but like a bold period. Not as someone waiting to be chosen, but as someone who has already chosen herself. See yourself like a traveler moving through the storm, wind against your face, soaked by the rain, but still eyes lifted to the sky. Not because the path is clear, but because your posture has changed. That is what this moment is. A new declaration, a quiet revolution that starts not with noise, but with presence. You don't need another sign. You don't need permission. You don't need to fix yourself. You are already enough to begin. So take that first step, as if the ground will rise to meet you. Because more often than not it does. And if something inside you stirred while listening to this, if something shifted, even slightly, then let that be your signal. Leave a flame in the comments, not because you owe anyone an explanation, but as a quiet way of saying, I'm ready. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Not for me, for you. Because here, every video is a journey back home to yourself. And you, more than anyone else, deserve to arrive.